Okay, so I'm going to start by reading a poem. This poem was written by a 13-year-old. Her mother has been seriously ill, and this girl is autistic, so hadn't necessarily emotionally responded in the same way, but this shows the emotion she was feeling. Safety Garden, Moonlight Tales. Tales written, by the way, as in a cat's tail, which is relevant when you see the illustrations I'll show you later. So, Safety Garden, Moonlight Tales. When the skies are grey and there's no looking up today, between the small tree and broken green, there a secret garden lies, a garden for you and me. Every time there's a falling tear, when your mind is full of fear, plant a flower here. I'll be here. I'll be your safety garden. A flower grown, a jungle to own, sunlight yellow to the reddest mellow. There I'll be, a garden just for you and me. When the night takes your sleep, rest your head, there's no need to weep. String your dreams into our trees, I'll catch them every single one. I'll be your safety garden. A catcher strung, a night to come, here dark dreams are caught between the coloured seams. It's a garden for you and me. A day of broken heart, where words turn to piercing darts. May many a thorn grow in your sorrow. Let the rose bloom, this is just a passing gloom. I'll be your safety garden. A storm grows in a fury, these days pass on surely, a perfection none. Love will move on, but I'll still be here, a garden for you and me. The days are empty and bleak. Everything shapes to what you seek. Even in this darkest pit, you can still get out. A bravest thing to do is shout, I'll still be your safety garden. A cry for one is a mercy for me. A shout for help is nothing meek. A brave yell is nothing torn. As the best flowers sometimes grow through the sharpest thorns. I'll be there, the garden for you and me. Every day that a stronger step is taken, every colour returning unshaken, our garden grows more, and forever I'll be your safety garden. It does not end, it only shows how we've come. Sometimes the best flowers are grown through the sharpest thorns. And that's by Rosie McMahon, 13 years old. What is just as remarkable is that, I'm going to hold this up, I don't know how well it will show. This is a drawing that she's done to go with it. So there you go. That was drawn on a computer, and it's very typical of her style of drawing. So that's a drawing that goes with the poem, and there are other drawings to come. Now the reason I've started with that is that I'm looking at the importance of us as teachers helping people to flourish, helping them to be what they can be. So I'm going to take you back several years. I'm going to take you back to when she was about 9 years old. I was her English teacher, and she would sit there in class repeatedly and getting louder, going, I can't, I can't, I can't. When asked to do something, she'd be biting at her fist, saying, oh, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't. So another time she'd just stand there like a rabbit in the headlights, just totally, it would appear like sort of dumb insolence or defiance. It could very easily be seen as aggressive behaviour, not aggressive, that's the wrong word, but you know, negative behaviour, behaviour that some people might have sort of sanctioned her for. That wasn't needed. She was a 9-year-old girl with a lot of stress. At this point, not yet formally diagnosed with autism, but pretty clear that she was on the spectrum somewhere. So first things first is safety. Now if she's chewing at her hand, biting with the frustration and the stress. So we got something called a chew buddy. I've got some here, which I'm just leaning over to get. We started with one on her wrist. We then moved on to a sort of a dog taggy one around her neck. We then moved on to one that was a bit like this. I'm going to put this on. but more solid. It was where this has the hole in the middle. Hers was a solid one, and looked a bit like a sort of you know, those swirly lollipops. It looked like that, and she would bite on that when she got stressed. She would just bite and bite down as hard as she liked. She wasn't damaging herself. She got through quite a few of these things, which they're hard to get through. They're good because you do that, it comes apart, so there's no danger to self at all. They do them in all sorts, different age appropriate. There's one that look like Lego, there's ones that look like little stick men, all sorts. There's also ones that look like pieces of jewellery, and they were significant because we had a couple of people using these at school, and at one point somebody was making them feel uncomfortable about wearing them. So I started wearing them, because if Mrs. Cohen was wearing it, it was fine. So I had one that was like this, which is an elephant, and I'd sit there and I'd like, I hate doing that. It actually doesn't do anything for me. I'm like, ugh. But makes it look normal, okay? The other one that I had is this one. It looks like a set of beads. Put it round, chew on it. That way, when the people who needed them in school were using them, they were more normalised, and I think that's quite important, because there's enough going on if you've got any sort of learning need. You don't need you don't need anything that's going to make you stand out even more. So once we'd sorted that out, then for this particular young lady, we found out that one of the things that was stressing her out was actually the feel of paper. So that feel was really uncomfortable for her. So we had to work out what to do. We tried different types of paper, sugar paper, all sorts, and eventually, I think it was her mum, who was a teacher at the school, she suggested a fingerless glove, and that worked really well. So just on the hand she was writing with, she would wear a single glove, and then she could write. Now, as you've heard from that poem, her writing was phenomenal. Even at 9 years old, she was writing imaginative writing, imagery, descriptive writing. She had simile, metaphor, really extended ones, and you just, wow, you were taken to the world she was describing. They were just spot on, perfect, beautiful. I've taught people who've got A stars at GCSE who have not written as beautifully as this young lady, and you know, we're talking primary age at the time. So one of the things we needed to do when she was getting into her state of I can't, was giving her the permission to be doing something that she could do while we sorted out everyone else, and then I could get back to her and sort out. So she did the learning that everyone else did. So for example, she might be doing a story or a drawing that was ongoing, so quite often it would be one of her drawings, and so we got her we got her to get a laptop. She had a laptop which had a pen, so she could draw on it, and you know, she could type or draw, and she could sit there, and I would say, you can get on with your drawing, and she'd go, oh, but I'm supposed to be doing that, I can't. I'm going, yes you can, I'm giving you permission, I'm telling you I want you to draw that because I want to see how far you've got in 5 minutes or whatever it was. So it's giving her the permission to do the things that were actually enabling her to get some self-esteem, some self-confidence, because these were things at which she flourished, and we needed to build up her self-esteem. This I can't, this negative perception of self needed to be addressed, because that was the most important thing, and allowing her to do this drawing really helped. So she had the laptop. We would adapt. I'd then go back to her once I've got everyone settled, and I'd look at the task in hand, and I'd think, how can I bring cats into it? If I could bring cats into it, I knew I'd have her attention, she'd be able to focus, and she could relate what we were doing to cats, you know. Whatever the teaching point was, I would find a way of modifying the task so she was doing the same learning, but doing it in a way that worked for her. And that's the important thing. It wouldn't necessarily have worked for someone else, but it would work for her. And it's thinking about, what am I trying to achieve here in terms of the learning? How can I modify the task or the teaching so that she can access the learning? And that's what you would do. That's how you would adapt things. And you know, in that particular class there were several adaptations that needed to be made for quite a few different people, you know. So adapting it, making sure the praise was targeted and deserved, because if you don't feel you're good at something and someone says well done, it's very easy to dismiss it. But if they say, wow, that descriptive writing is so good, your use of similes is exceptional, you've found something very specific, and it's much easier to accept the praise if it's specific, so it's targeted, deserved praise. Okay, so that is a really important part of the strategies to help her to develop. The other thing is she needed a safe space. So when the stress was just too much, and the task, you know, in a particular lesson, it could be a PE lesson, whatever, there needed to be somewhere she could go. Now sometimes when she went there, that would be because what she needed was to just sleep, because exhaustion from all the stress of trying to cope with the school day. So yes, fall asleep, that's fine, that's allowed, it's accepted. You need a safe space, but you need more than one, so that if that safe space is being occupied, there's somewhere else to go. But you also need more than one safe person, because, you know, I could have been teaching something where I couldn't just drop it and go, or I could have been off on a course, or just anything. I may not have been available. So there had to be more than one person that she could go to, that she felt safe around, that were her safe spaces, places where when she was stressed she could calm down. We also needed to adapt the day. So there were times when we'd get to lunchtime and I would just say, is there someone at home, can she go home? Sometimes her mum taught in that school, so she was able to sit quietly in the back of the art. Her mum was an English and art teacher. If her mum was teaching art, she could sit quietly in the back of the art room and do some artwork. If her dad was working from home, she could go home. We adapted it, we were flexible. The reason I'm doing this week, besides being inspired by seeing the drawing, I'd heard the poem and the drawing blew me away even more. Having seen where that's come from, she is amazing from age 9. She's 13 and did that, exceptional. But it's this, I think it's really important that we as teachers enable and support our students to flourish. Whatever it is that they can do, we need to help them to do it. Whatever their barriers are to learning and to getting on that path, we need to break down those barriers. We need to find strategies that work for that person. The strategies in place for Rosie would not necessarily have been the right strategies for someone else. So the right strategies, we have a duty to help people to flourish, to help people to be the best they can be. And we have opportunities as we return to school to use all the flexibility from the homeschooling and the lockdown scenario. Let's use some of that flexibility, the online opportunities, the at-home opportunities, to do some sort of flexible approach that really does accommodate all our learners and enable them to be absolutely the best they can be. And by the way, just before I finish, just to say, Rosie McMahon specifically wanted her name mentioned because I'm using her artwork and her poem, and she quite rightly deserves to be credited with such amazing work. I'm so proud of her. Thank you.